Meaning it didn't go up.
Yeah,
It was
right.
flat this way.
But, this ribbon.
Yeah.
Because when a ribbon, if you have a very short ribbon, it radiates this way and it radiates this way. If you make the ribbon a little longer, it still radiates this way, but it doesn't radiate this way as much. It radiates more like this.
Yeah.
And if you make a ribbon from here to here, the high frequencies are just going out like this, and the the high frequencies down the bottom are going sort of flat, and they don't bounce off the floor, so it helps eliminate reflections. And so, if the ribbon's not quite high enough, if you stand above it, the highs would go away, so you have to sit down. And my little cinema ribbon has that problem because the ribbon's only this high.
Yeah.
So if I'm aiming it that way, the highs are going out like this. So you have to be far enough back or sit down low enough so that you're in the
That also suggests gain, acoustic. Does that also suggest acoustic gain?
Well,
Greater efficiency?
There wouldn't be any.
yeah.
There's just no.
Could it be what you're saying is when you have an infinite line source, it turns out that what you emanate from it tends to be perpendicular from the source and it's not off angle, and that's why it doesn't reflect off the floor. It's because the sound is coming out parallel to the floor and there's not a perpendicular component.
That's right. I think that must be it.
But if you had some bunch of
Yeah.
that may change.
Bob, a good way I had that explained to me one time for a pattern coming off something was like a small source gives you a round character. So it's like a balloon. And when you have greater gain, it's like taking your hands and squeezing the top and the bottom and squeezing it out. So it's all the same amount, it's just now radiated in a different pattern.
That's really very true. At the conceptual level, if you make something go this way, and you make it, then to make it have more power here, you just take it away from here. And I use that fact in my little cinema ribbons to build a sense of acoustic space. It takes power to build space because you've squished it this way and it's popped out over here. And that's really true. So if you take the little speakers you heard today, which have a big sense of acoustic space, and listen to them on axis, and if I moved the side-firing drivers around to the front, the whole thing would seem louder. But it also would collapse the space. And so instead of using all the available power, either electrical input power or acoustical output power, I use some of it to make space and some of it to make the images in front of that, inside of that space. I don't know if I'm answering your question. I'm getting too elaborate, I think.
Oh,
That's good.
No,
Hey,
I'm learning
this
more
is-
about speaker design than I ever thought I would.
Do Ray.
What about
Go ahead,
floor
Ray.
now? Is it going to be more desirable to have a carpet or to have a bare floor?
Yeah, have a carpet. Carpet's nice. Yeah, it's better to have a carpet.
Oh, good, I don't want to put a carpet.
It's much better to have a carpet. You sort of need, it turns out that living rooms are really very, very good for this to go out.
Turn your his head around.
Especially if there are a few human beings in the
fucking
living
lose
room and
something
there's
to
furniture. Yes.
I got two questions. One of them's real simple. With Carver Audio, Carver Corp, producing probably the best bang for the buck, are we going to be able to afford these speakers? That's number one. Yes or no? No.
I'll tell you
What he wants to know is what kind of price
Alright.
range you're going to be in.
All right.
Yes.
He now hates you.
Good. No. Hey, listen, you guys. We're all here because of that one single fact.
One
of fact. One of the most important things was more bang for the buck from Carver.
Define affordable.
Yes.
What's affordable?
Everybody's budget is a little bit different, I'm sure.
Well,
You're
no,
not paying on your
back
credit
when
card for 5 years.
Back when I was a 20-year-old kid and I saw my first Carver Cube, you couldn't buy that cube in any other company for that price.
A competitive head.
Right.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
You
For 10 times.
had more bang for the buck in that Carver Cube. I, as a kid, loved phase linear. I had no money. I was real young. I knew it was good. Keeping that in mind, are we gonna be able to afford these things? Good. Question number 2.
I'm still the same.
I know that. I know
I like
that.
to make
Question
it work.
number 2. I'd like to know the relationship between you and Boldner Gravener as per ribbons. Who produced what for who? And what the heck happened?
Oh, Dave Gravener's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. He's from Seattle.
Oh, he's a wonderful guy.
And the way the ribbon started for him is he was working at Speaker Lab. Speaker Lab, a speaker company in Seattle. And about that time, I began working on my Amazing. And I designed the ribbon for it, built the ribbon for it, made a ribbon making machine, and built the ribbon.
The Carver ribbon that I repair,
The
you
car-
built.
Oh,
You built.
He designed.
Yeah.
You
The ones
designed
that-
and built.
The ones like
Okay.
this. Yeah, they're just like that,
Yeah.
okay? Now, then, Speaker Lab, the company that he went and worked for, when Belly, they went out of business, they
Yeah.
went broke. And, you know, it has curves on it.
Too many curves.
No such thing.
So anyway, Dave and I became friends because Skip Henderson, the owner of Speaker Lab, asked me to take a look at his business. You know, I was successful, Carver was growing, you know, I had a lot of employees and stuff, selling lots of stuff, and amps and speakers. Well, not yet the speakers, it started in the Amazing. So I went over to Speaker Lab, and this is my long-winded answer to your question. I went over to Speaker Lab, got to know Dave Gravener and Skip Henderson, not Skip Henderson, Skip something. They were great guys, and I told them what I thought was going to happen to Speaker Lab, and gave them some advice. They didn't follow it, so they went out of business. It wasn't quite that simple, but it wasn't much more complicated. Dave was just enamored with the ribbon, so he built one, and I didn't care. I really didn't care. And he was such a great guy, so he built a ribbon, and then he showed it to me, and I thought, wow, that's great. Of course, it was just like mine. There was hardly any difference at all. And then I finished the work on the Amazing Loudspeaker ribbon. And it was a lot of work. I had to figure out how to make it not buzz, how to damp it, how to make it go down to 100 hertz and still work and be sensitive. And I fell down a couple times on that journey, but finally finished it. The day I finished it, I stopped working on it because I went on to do other things. I had some amps I had to do, some processors and stuff. And but he kept on going. He now didn't have a job at Speaker Lab anymore. So he decided to continue building ribbons, and he did. And he improved them, and he really became Mr. Ribbon of the world. He's continuously worked on them and improved them, as far as I know. You were shaking your head, so you must have some other experience. But I've been watching him from afar, and I see him from time to time. And he's just done, he showed me his new ribbon, and I go, wow, that's really cool, that's great. It had all sorts of cool things going on inside. And it was because he's been working on them for the last 20 years. I mean, this thing was designed, I think, about 20 years ago, a long time ago. And can you imagine working on something for 20 years, day in and day out? It's going to get a lot better.
But those are the ribbons in the Genesis.
Are these the Genesis ribbons? Now, I sold Arnie Nudell Genesis, also my ribbons. He bought them as an OEM.
He got them from you.
Yeah, he got them from me.
All right.
Arnie Nudell, Genesis,
okay.
bought ribbons from me.
See, that's the way I've heard it for the last 8 or 10 years. And I've told everybody. I've spoken to a lot of guys here. I've repaired them for guys. And I says, you know, if you want to go to BG, just remember it's the Carver ribbons that are in the $135,000 Genesis speakers. They use the 60-inch ribbon.
Yeah, Arnie used my ribbon for.
I have heard over and over again from somewhere that it was the other way around. that they provided the ribbons for you.
No, that's a rumor,
That-
false rumor. But